Hi, y'all. Welcome back to the Knit+Sip podcast. I'm Kate, and we'll be talking about our September Knit+Sip project on this episode. So we are going to be doing another Purl Soho pattern. We did one in February as well, and I do love their patterns. So this is another great find. It's a great way to get used to a smaller needle size, a smaller yarn weight, while working with a relatively easy pattern. And I again had gifted this, so this went to my mother for her birthday that year. So I don't actually have a sample to show you, but again, I will put the link in the description of the podcast so you can go check out the pattern and see if it's something you're interested in doing in the coming year. So it is a fairly mindless knit. It is just stockinette stitch, and it's a very large rectangle that gets folded into a triangle, and you wear it as a bandana. So it's called the Knit and Fold Bandana by Purl Soho. And I like this knit again because as a beginner, you're getting used to a lot of different needle sizes, yarn weights, and how they feel to work with. And so was one of the first very lightweight yarns that I worked with, or lightweight projects I worked on, and it's really a good pattern just to get used to that. We'll be using Red Hill fibers for this. So they are located in southern Indiana, and they are a really great company. So if anybody is into the Fourth Wing, has read the Fourth Wing, they have the exclusive licensing rights to that yarn. And so we're working out whether we might be using some Fourth Wing yarn for that, or possibly, just some of their other great colorways. So definitely check them out. I'm in Kentucky. They're in southern Indiana, just across the state line, and love to support some local yarn companies. And as you can see, I'm wearing my Indiana sweatshirt today. So go IU for anyone who might be listening. I know we're not very good at much of anything right now, but that just gives me some more motivation when I'm watching games. I stress knit, so any other Indiana fans or anyone else rooting for teams that aren't great right now might appreciate that. So a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with this project. If you don't already have something that looks like this, which measures your gauge and can also tell you needle sizes, if you don't maybe know what size your needles are, this is a really great tool. It also, one of my favorite features of this is the wraps per inch. So if you have a yarn and you don't maybe know the yarn weight, you can use this handy tool right here to wrap the yarn and see how many wraps are how many times your yarn wraps around in an inch, and that will tell you the yarn weight. So really, really helpful tool for lots of things, needles, yarn, and particularly gauge. So wanted to talk really quickly about gauge because a lot of the projects, this one included, that we've done so far, gauge is not very critical for what you're doing, but it is a really great skill to learn how to master as a knitter. And so this project is going to be a really good one, with it being stockinette stitch. You're probably, if you've been sticking with us through the 12 months of beginner projects, you're probably now at this point developing hopefully consistent tension. If you've been knitting for several months now at this point, again, this will be our September project, so we're talking 9 months into the year. Hopefully your tension is coming along, and this might be a good one to measure your blocked gauge with when you're finished. So again, not critical in terms of necessarily starting the project knowing your gauge beforehand, but something that is great to know your gauge in afterwards, so after you've blocked it. So just a couple of tips and tricks there, and we'll talk lots more about tips and tricks as we go through projects and get into our Fold podcast as we start projects in the new year. So thanks for tuning in. Cheers.